Hope everyone's doing well. You guys are staying safe, staying inside. Um, Today, I'm gonna try just kind of a more casual style video, a little bit less scripted, a little bit just more kind of me talking, a little bit less photos and so on. Um, Basically, I've been figuring with all these re-releases of like amazing Grand Prix from the past. So far, I think we've had Bahrain from 2014. We had Brazil 2016. We had Adelaide 1986. And then we had this most recent one was Monaco 96, which was awesome because I've been really excited to try to watch that race. I've been trying to find it for ages and I've heard so much about it. And I was just, yeah, super excited to see that one. But I figured with all these races coming out that I'd give kind of my input, I guess, on the five most memorable Grand Prix of my lifetime. Um, and I think kind of important to remember that I'm only 19, so unfortunately, my kind of memory of races really only starts when I'm about 6 or 7 years old, so about 2006, 2007 era. So I'm not really going to be remembering any races from, the prime of Schumacher or anything amazing from the 90s or 80s, obviously. But yeah, so I'm just gonna hop into this. There's no real particular order to these races. They're kind of just five random races. Why I like them. What's made them special, I guess, to me. And yeah, you guys get to enjoy the drop back of my amazing wall of Hot Wheels cars. Because I decided the audio from last week's video was just kind of crap, given that it was in a big open space and super echoey. So hopefully this video sounds a little bit better than last week's. Let me know. But yeah, without further ado, let's jump into this. So first off, I'd say one of my most memorable Grand Prix was Singapore 2008. So if anyone has seen this one, this was the first time F1 had ever held a night race. So it was kind of an important race. I guess for that reason, it was memorable to me in the sense that, as a kid, I'd never seen any Formula One race where they were racing when it was pitch black out. Even though obviously the circuit is lit by white lighting. Yeah, I thought that was super cool. So in general, too, Singapore is one of my favorite tracks. I love watching Formula One cars go through that circuit, I'd say, for the night race aspect of it. But specifically 2008 was probably one of my least favorite races. And that's why I think it's so memorable to me. Because as I've said before, my family is a, pro Ferrari family. We tend to root for red. And so, as a impressionable 7-year-old kid watching this race in 2008, I was just, super pro Ferrari. Had basically no idea what was going on, but just knew that if the red cars were leading, that was good. And sure enough, Moss is doing great. And then the whole fuel thing just absolutely wrecked that race for him. And yeah, even though I had almost no idea what was going on, that was just so memorable to me. That image of Massa just kind of pulling out of the pits with the fuel line still attached to the car. Yeah, still keeps me up at night some days. But then after that, great one, Montreal 2011. This was just an absolutely unbelievable race, and I do mean unbelievable. Like none of it made sense whatsoever, and that was incredible. This was just a classic example of why a race that's wet and dry is definitely the best. You had people switching between so many different strategies. You ultimately had Jensen winning the race coming from he was in 10th at one point. It just, none of it made any sense. It's the longest race in Formula One history as well, which is cool. And I think that's part of why I remember it as well. Really looking back on it, I think Button winning was memorable, but to me, I guess the thing that stuck with me is just the image of rain. I mean, there was just so much of it, and there were, I think, 2 or 3 red flags that lasted 20, 30 minutes. And I think we were lucky, too, because my family at the time lived in Boston, and Montreal is pretty much on the same time zone as Boston is. And normally we watch races as a recording, but that race we got to watch, live on TV. And had we not been able to watch that live, we wouldn't have been able to get through the race because I think it was like 4.5 hours. So the recording would have cut out for us. So, that's part of what made that race so great for me specifically. It was just, I actually got to watch it. Whereas Brazil 2016, incredible race, and I remember half of it, but the rest of it didn't record. So unfortunate stuff, but Montreal, incredible. Then that brings me on to Spain 2016. So this is kind of a controversial one, maybe. Maybe, not a lot of people have really liked that kind of early Mercedes domination period. I think 2016 they won 19 of 21 races. Correct me if I'm wrong. So a lot of wins for them. Very, very high win percentage for the team. But I still think 2016 had its moments. And I think this race is no exception because you had, going into turn 3, the Mercedes take each other out, and it's just absolute carnage. And then the rest of the race was not super interesting, but then Max goes on to win, and that was just insane to me because for some reason we hadn't been able to watch the 2015 season. I think it was like my dad didn't get cable that year or something like that. So 2015, I really had no idea what was going on. I didn't know, what was happening with Max Verstappen. I didn't know anything about him, how good he was. And Spain was only the 4th or 5th race of the 2016 season. So I really didn't know much about him. I just knew that he had randomly been thrown into this Red Bull car. And then sure enough, he qualifies well and then goes on to win. And that was just insane to me. And as I mentioned in the last video as well, just youngest driver to win a Grand Prix that hasn't been beaten. And just, yeah, I think that's a memorable race. I think that's one that's gonna go down as a better race than I think that entire season is remembered for. Then the next race, this is probably one of my most memorable ones, and it's actually from my younger years, was the European Grand Prix from 2007. This was the race at the Nürburgring, I think, that year. So if anyone remembers this, it was just the definition of carnage. It was absolutely chaotic thing I think I've ever seen in a race, and that's why I remember it so well. It felt like no one stayed on the track. I mean, it was really a race of who didn't go off, not who was winning, who was leading, who was having the best strategy, anything like that. It was just who didn't go off in the race, that's who succeeded. I don't even remember who won the race. I don't frankly care. I just remember everyone went off. It was just insane. I mean, there were parts where you had like 5 or 6 cars beached in the same freaking corner. It was unbelievable. It was like something out of a dream or a nightmare. It was wild. I highly recommend watching that race if you haven't seen it. Just incredible. I'm probably going to try to go back and watch that. I'm going to see if I can find it somewhere on YouTube because I want to figure out, what happened in the race other than people going off. But yeah, as a little 6-year-old watching that race, just wow. Yeah, unbelievable. Crazy, crazy race. And lastly, we're going to go on to Austria 2019. So yeah, very recent race. Not, really a memory, I guess. It's still pretty recent. But to me, I think this is going to be, I don't know, I think this is going to be the kind of classic race from 2019 because this was the first race that really broke us out of that incredibly boring streak of races that we had. Bouncing off of France too, which was probably one of the worst races in Formula One history, to then just, an absolute cracker in Austria. I don't know. I think this race got underrated for the season. I think we all loved it when it happened. And then as, Brazil hit and Hockenheim hit and Silverstone hit and so on, all these other incredible races, we kind of forgot about what made Austria great. And I think what made Austria great is kind of lacking in the other races, maybe with the exception of Silverstone last year. I think what made Austria incredible was just it was such a pure battle between two rising stars that I think we can all confidently say will become world champions. And so, to me, I think we're going to look back on that race and see it as kind of, I don't know, maybe not, Prost and Senna level type stuff, but, something that we'll look back on that 10, 15 years from now and be like, this one race, this was the start of their fight, their epic battle that I think will continue for years in Formula One. And so, yeah, to me, I think this was amazing. I think also this was kind of cool because I think, traveling at the time that it happened, and for me, figuring out the way I was actually going to watch this race was super complicated. I think I had to wake up at 6 or 7 to figure out how I was going to watch it, and it was worth every bit of effort. I absolutely loved it to see Max, completely screw everything up at the beginning and then come back and lap Gasly and finish in first with an incredible 5 or 6 laps where he's just intensely battling with Leclerc and making Hamilton look like a rookie and making Vettel look like a rookie and making Bottas look like he's in a backmarker car. It was just insane. I loved that race. I don't know why it was not really ranked as one of the best races last year. It was just, yeah, I can't say enough good things about that race. But yeah, that's my five favorite Grand Prix. I hope you guys enjoyed this, but please let me know if you guys agreed with these, if you guys have seen these races, or if you guys have some different ones that you're just fuming that I didn't put on this list. Please let me know. I'd love to, share my thoughts on the race that you guys liked or disliked. Yeah, just memorable Grand Prix. Let me know below. Hope you guys are staying safe. Hope you guys are staying busy. Yeah, I hope you guys have a great coming week. See you all. Bye.